Good evening and Happy New Year. Welcome back. The purpose of this meeting is to conduct the business of the Gettysburg Area School District. Board of Directors meetings and committee meetings are open to the public but are not public meetings. All school district residents who wish to make public comment should sign in prior to the start of the meeting and request to speak during citizens' participation. School district residents wishing to speak to the board shall do only during citizen participation section of the meeting. The board will not tolerate public outbursts or disruptions, nor will it tolerate comments made outside of the citizens' participation portion of the meeting. Public comment is welcome, and all issues will be referred to the appropriate board committee or administrator. Comments will be summarized in the official board minutes, which will be made available by contacting the business office. Please take a moment to silence any electronic devices. Roll call, all members are present this evening. Great start to the year. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Notices and communications. No notices and communications. Citizen participation. I am not seeing any. Routine approvals. 5.1 through 5.5. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Question. Hearing none, roll call. Alice.
Yes.
Mike.
Yes.
Ryan.
Yes.
Tim.
Yes.
Michelle.
Yes.
Cindy.
Yes.
Jeremy.
Yes.
Al.
Yes.
And I vote yes. Great start to the new year. Items for board action, none. Informational items. The first informational item is 7.1, Policy 325, Dress and Grooming. Do the board have any questions or want anyone to elaborate on that particular policy that I believe is a first read, correct?
Yeah.
First read. So
it's a first read for all of those, all the policies that are listed on the agenda are first reads, and they're just a continuation of basically creating policy 300s to account for all of the personnel policies. So instead of having 300 series, 400 series, and a 500 series, we'll just have a 300 series. So this is just the new version of that policy that encompasses all employees instead of different employees based on job class.
Jason, if I can clarify some things so that we're actually doing this in the public. The policy committee, like the other committees, meet, Mike, what, once a month?
Yeah, once a month, the second Tuesday of each month.
And which board members are currently assigned as active members?
Correct. We have three board members that are typically assigned as active members, and then each board member is welcome to attend as a member ex officio. So all board members are welcome.
And my last question, policies that are on the first read, are they back in committee as a matter of routine, or does a board member bring it back to committee before the second read?
If there are no questions, it would just come back for action. The only way it would go back to the policy committee would be if there's something that the board wanted re-examined.
So for clarification, if we're doing a first read, if it's on the first read, then it's come out of committee with approval and recommendation for approval by the board.
Correct.
Thank you. The next policies.
I'm sorry. I do have a question about it, but
Go ahead,
thank you
Alice.
for the clarification of the process. So my apologies for not attending that meeting. I had a concert that night, but I did read through, and for the dress and grooming one, I'm wondering if there can be clarification about why the bottom of it lists violation consequences rather than that being present in a conduct policy.
I can let our solicitor answer that. I think that it's common with a lot of the policies that we get from PSBA that's a blanket statement at the bottom of most policies dealing specifically with personnel.
Yeah, and just to add to it a little bit it's just to sort of cross-reference, right? So if you were to go to the misconduct, which is 317 or 317.1, it could be outlined a little bit more specifically, but it's just sort of a simple cross-reference so that each employee knows, knows what those expectations are. So it's just a cross-reference.
So my questioning would be, so I know that obviously school districts can do this differently, but I did reference the one that I have as a teacher in my school district, and it's almost the same wording, but does not have that at the bottom. So my concern, or I guess my confusion around that would be, as an employee, needing to know, like, I think that the more that's listed in different places could potentially, like, take away from the clarity of what those policies are. I know, there's other places where it's listed that you are following these expectations and the grounds for termination should something go wrong. I'm wondering, is it present on all of these policies or just this one?
Many of them are. I mean,
Okay.
like, for instance, like, I think 328 has nothing to do with teacher performance. So it wouldn't be on policy 328 because it's not about the expectation of a teacher or an employee, I should say, not a teacher. So,
Right.
and, within our firm, that is our practice, is
Okay.
to try to be consistent. So I'm not sure which district you might be referencing and whether
Sure.
that district has decided to revise their policies recently, but it is something that we do to the extent that the employee will be held responsible, and it, not necessarily termination, but,
Yeah.
leading up to.
Right.
That it is sort of, referenced so that there's that understanding between both the board, the district administration, and the employee.
Right, and then
themselves.
should an employee, like, request more information on that, that's with the supervisor or in referencing what other documents are in place for that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
And I know with Dr. Perrin and Mr. Dickerson, we've been just talking, and the policy committee, just about
Yeah.
training, handbooks, like notifications, so employees
Right.
know, like, this is not going to be thrown at
That
them.
there's a
And
handbook
tomorrow
on
they
its
have
way.
to follow
Right.
through with it.
No,
So, yeah.
I read about that and was aware that that's on its way, so I just was, again, for my own knowledge, since I wasn't able to attend that, but I think that was a valuable discussion that I wanted a little clarification on, so, thanks.
Yeah, and I think just to add a little more clarity to that, I think because we're just in the beginning process of consolidating the 3, 4s, and 5s into what we would call the new 300s, you're going to start to see, as we circle through these policies, we're going to see that uniformity, and then you're going to start to see that language at the bottom of all of them versus, because they're all basically new. So you'll start to see that more and more.
Cool.
Next,
Hold on one second.
I'm sorry, Michelle, go ahead.
Am I to understand that there is no employee handbook? Or there is
We're creating a more comprehensive one that the principals and staff have asked for. So that's what we're working on right now.
okay, and as far as grooming and dress, what are the expectations for teachers for grooming and dress? Like, you're captain of the ship,
It's a professional environment.
okay, so what does that mean? Because I've been in these buildings and I'm seeing teachers in jeans and t-shirts and whatever. I get when it's field day, okay, jeans, t-shirts, shorts, whatever, I understand that. When my son was in second and third grade here, he wore a shirt and tie to school. Not because I forced him, but because his philosophy was, you know what, Mr. Farringer might get sick or something, he needs somebody to take over. And that's why he wore a shirt and tie. My opinion would be that our teachers dress appropriately, maybe not a shirt and tie, business casual. I am really tired of seeing jeans. If we want our children to dress nicer, to, look more appropriate, be appropriate when they're at a job, you got to set that expectation for your teachers.
I agree with you, Michelle. Just from my personal knowledge, from being on the board and being through the district, I believe the policy is addressing the professional attire based upon your particular position. So if you're a shop or a welder, you're working a teacher, obviously the attire is going to be different than if you are language arts or whatever. So I would say that. And I will tell you, too, on the jeans and stuff, I know that while I'm agreeing with you, there will be times that occurs, because what my understanding is that the teachers will do different fundraisers and different things throughout the year where they pay money in to be able to wear a pair of jeans on a Friday, and that supports some other activity or other program. I'll give you an example. diamonds for childhood cancer. I know they ran a fundraiser based upon that. They paid a certain amount of money on that Friday. They were able to wear their jeans. But overall, that policy, when I read it, addresses the everyday expectation that we didn't want teachers in here in a pair of sweatpants or shorts or a raggedy shirt, that they needed to dress appropriately professionally. So I think in reading that policy, that's what I got.
Right, and the other piece of it to remember is that none of the policies that are in front of you were put in place because there's an issue with something. They're put in front of you because we're going through all the 300s and they were next. So I think it's also important to remember.
Okay, 7.2, Policy 328, Compensation Plans and Salary Schedules. Are there any questions from the board on that?
I just have one question.
Go ahead, Michelle.
So I read through this, and if you're not a full-time employee, do you not get a 30-minute lunch? It's not specifically spelled out, that's why I was asking.
I would assume that folks that work a full day are given lunch. Yeah. Yeah.
Anything additional? 7.3, Policy 331, Job-Related Expenses. Are there any questions?
I have another question.
Go ahead, Michelle.
So these are for, like, expenses if somebody goes to a conference or a convention someplace. Do we ever have, like, a estimated expense sheet prior to somebody going someplace? I mean, because if somebody's leaving and going to a 3-day convention, I don't necessarily, like, I need you to eat, don't get me wrong, but I don't necessarily want you having a ribeye steak dinner every night at $50 a pop on my dime.
Yeah, but most travel like that, conferences, those kinds of things, there's a pre-approval process. So you have like kind of the expected costs before even going, and then those are approved, and then the person turns in their receipts when they return, and then there are allocations for the types of things that you're talking about.
Hearing nothing additional, 7.4, Policy 332, Working Periods. No questions. Next policy, 7.5, Policy 333, Professional Development. Are there any questions?
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Who exactly are the designated employees in this, and what are their Con Ed obligations? And then I have another one.
I missed the first part of it, Michelle. Could you ask?
So it says on here designated employees. So who are those designated employees? Is it everybody? Because when I worked at a different school district, I didn't necessarily have to have Con Ed hours, but I know, like, some teachers did, but then not everybody. So who are those designated employees?
Anybody that needs them.
Okay. And then what are these obligations?
To meet the requirements, to keep your certifications.
So based on a law or an act? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And then, so apparently our professional plan is to be posted at the library? That's what it says, in the public library. I'm asking, like, that's what it says. We're posting at the public library?
Ours is on the website, I believe.
Okay, well, that's what I was going to ask, like, shouldn't we?
It'll
just
be
put it
easier
in
to
the
find
library?
there.
But no, but it literally says in there at the public library.
I think it says it, but it says for a minimum of 28 days, I think, before it's approved. So it's like out there, it's out of the public library until it's approved, and then I don't think it stays there. It's for public comment, similar to this
Right.
with policies. Right, so it wouldn't be there right now. Is that what you're asking?
Well, no, I was just like.
Okay, yeah, you're
at
just
the-
confirming
like,
that that's.
At the public library? I mean,
Gotcha.
of all places.
I think in
It would just make-
1963, that's where
Well, that
people had
would
to
have
go.
made
Yeah.
sense, yeah, but I'm
I
like,
just learned something new.
well, I mean, because I'm like, well, why don't we just post it on the website and,
Yeah, that's what we do. Yeah. Yeah, we make it publicly accessible for a comment period before it's approved by the board. And back in the, I want to say back in the day, because I'll start dating myself. Back in the day, they were in the library, and they were.
We might want to think about changing that.
I mean, it doesn't, I think it should be available in some way without having to access the internet. But whether it's here in district office, I think that probably makes more sense. Yeah,
District office.
It does say that it's here, but it also says.
in the public library, yeah.
At the public library, and I was like, it's kind of strange, and.
Michelle, I think you had a second one?
No, that was it.
Okay.
When we go to approve it next month, we can strike through public library.
I would recommend that.
That's fine. You good with that?
I don't care, I was just asking because I thought that was odd.
I don't know anybody there looking for it.
Okay, that brings us to the end of the informational items. Board committee reports. Are there any committee reports this evening?
No report, Mr. Hassinger, but I did want to share with everyone as the legislative liaison for the school board, my focus areas, major focus areas for this coming school year will be what's happening in Harrisburg regarding the school funding formula. As most of you know, the court system has decided that the current system is somewhat unconstitutional, and Governor Shapiro and the team are working on creating a more fair and equitable formula. My personal opinion is there is a fair and equitable formula that's out there, but it only included, once this was approved, it only included any new monies that were designated to the school system. It did not include existing money, and those schools under the hold harmless criteria, even though they might have declining enrollment, do not get anything less than what they had gotten before. So I'll keep you abreast of that one. And then the second one, as you could probably guess, would be that I'm beating the dead horse even further. The whole way, the way that cyber charter schools are funded, and what we can do in regards to putting pressure on our legislators to give us some reform in that regard. Just about, if I'm not mistaken, 480 schools in the 500 districts in Pennsylvania have asked for reforms and have done, proclamations in that regard. House Bill 1422 has passed the House despite our local legislators, not Dan Mao and Torren Ecker, not supporting it. It is in the Senate at this point, and it's still in committee. It has not come out of committee. I have contacted all 11 members of the Education Committee in the Senate, encouraging them to consider House Bill 42, or at least some form of that, which could save Gettysburg Area School District close to, and Belinda probably has much tighter numbers than I have, but my perception is it could save Gettysburg School District close to $1 million. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Al. Any additional?
Yep, the policy committee will convene tomorrow, January 9th at 4 p.m. here in the administration building.
Nothing from building finance.
Program reports?
No school on January 15th, Martin Luther King Observance Day, Monday. We'll be doing some PD for some of our folks. It's actually the semester switch for our high school faculty, and the rest of the folks are off. And no school for students Monday, January 15th. As I mentioned at a previous meeting, one of our brick and mortar charter schools, not the cyber ones that Al was just talking about, but Vita Charter School is in the process of, they had requested a 5-year renewal of their charter. Their charter was going to be up this coming November, I believe is the date. So our team did a visit to Vita before the holiday. And we're just putting together just basically a draft summary, and we'll bring that to the board for information and approval once that's complete. That'll be happening over the next month or so, so we'll look for that soon.
Any questions? Hearing no questions, we had executive session prior to this evening's board meeting, reference a personnel matter. Our next meeting is January 22nd here in the boardroom. May I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
We stand adjourned.